Good morning and welcome to Module 5. Can you already believe we're in week 3? This semester is flying by. This week we're going to talk about store design, communication mix in this module, and then we're going to jump into pricing and customer service later in Module 6. So this week is really more around the strategic decisions that are happening inside the store for a retailer. And so when we specifically start to talk about the environment in the store, the design, the presentation, and location all have a significant impact on the shopping experience and on consumer shopping behavior. And so how we design and lay out the interior of the store can really impact overall profitability. Generally, each individual store manager is responsible for implementing the design and visual merchandising theme that's developed by retail specialists, layout presentation specialists who work generally in a retail chain headquarters. What happens normally is that specialist will design a planogram or a prototype, and then the store managers have to adapt that to fit their unique characteristics of their store. Because we know from our store location, a lot of times you will lease an already existing area, you'll lease an already existing space in an area, and so the individual store manager adapts to make sure that the presentation aligns with the overall strategy. So let's talk about a couple of objectives of store design. The first being to implement the retail strategy. This really is the primary objective in store design. The design of an individual store must be consistent with and reinforce the overall retail strategy. The goal would be to meet the needs of your target market, and oftentimes our store design can be used to build a competitive advantage if how our store is laid out is easy to use and builds that customer loyalty, which is a way to get a competitive advantage in the marketplace. So let's talk about building loyalty because that is a second objective of store design. When customers have a rewarding experience, they're motivated to visit your store and shop more frequently. And so we've already talked about different benefits that customers look for when they're shopping, but really there's two different types of rewards that they're seeking. And the first would be that utilitarian benefit. And utilitarian benefits are motivation for shoppers to accomplish that very specific task. These customers want a design where they can get in the store, get what they need, and get out. They're not spending as much time in the search process. They're not spending as much time browsing. They come into the retailer with a very specific need for a product, and they want to buy that and leave. And meeting utilitarian needs is critical for retailers, especially today when consumers are facing such a time crunch. There's not a lot of time to spend shopping and browsing. Now, the second type of need is a hedonic benefit. And hedonic benefits are met when the store design offers the customer an entertaining and enjoyable shopping experience. So customers who have hedonic needs, they really want to spend more time in the store. They want to experience the store while they're shopping. So let's think of Bass Pro Shops. Bass Pro Shops has an aquarium inside, a restaurant inside, an archery gallery, and sometimes even a mini golf course. So when you go to Bass Pro Shop, you're not necessarily going because you have a utilitarian need. You have a hedonic need for the shopping experience because you want to experience something besides just making a purchase. Now, most retailers seek to offer both of these types of benefits. The majority of retailers lean heavily towards one or the other. If we take Bass Pro again, they lean much more heavily towards meeting those hedonic benefits or offering those hedonic benefits for customers, but they still do offer some utilitarian benefits where you can get in and get to your merchandise and get out. So you'll notice retailers lean one way or another, but try to meet both types of needs. A third objective is to increase sales on every single visit. Store design impacts which products customers buy, how long they stay in the store, and how much money they spend each time they come into the retail establishment. And so retailers have to design their stores to motivate these unplanned purchases, or what we call impulse purchases. And so we're going to talk about, as we get into the different types of design elements, how we can increase those impulse purchases. A fourth objective is to control our costs in an effort to increase profits. Controlling the costs of implementing store design while maintaining the appearance of the store is a fine line for a retailer to walk. But there are certain areas where retailers can look to control costs. Think about the types of lighting used. Do you use those fluorescent light bulbs in your store? Do you have this really bright environment, or do you use like a soft white light bulb, which is more expensive but creates a more relaxed, calm environment? So that's just one type of decision you can make to control cost in design. The types of displays you have, how tall your shelving is, how wide your aisles are, all of those are areas you can look at in an effort to control your costs in design. And then the last one is to meet legal requirements. All store designs and redesigns must comply with the 2008 ADA Act, which is the Americans with Disabilities Act. This impacts retailers in many ways. Hiring practices are involved in this, but it's also store design. Today we have to have our retail aisles wider We have to have our retail aisles wider for wheelchairs to get through, and we have to make sure that we have ramps outside so that the people in wheelchairs can get in. We might have braille signs next to certain areas. We might have equipment for the hearing impaired. There are lots of different elements of the 2008 ADA that retailers have to consider when designing their store. So those are the 5 store design objectives. Now we're going to talk about the design elements. We're actually going to get into how do you design the interior of a store in this lecture, this module. And so there are 3 key elements to the overall store design, those being layouts, signage, and feature areas. So the next couple of sets of PowerPoint slides will walk through each of these elements of store design.